So, today we're multiplying radicals, but I would like to double check this information. All right, does anybody have any particular question from last night? All right, I posted the solution, so I'm expecting to just go through and look at them. All right, now again, I do think it's kind of easy, but if you get behind, if you don't know how to add and subtract, now when I do the multiplication, it's going to be harder for you. Ben, is there something I can help you with? Okay, so let's look at 48. All right, so you see how you're looking at 147, right? And 147 breaks down to 3 times 49, right? And then the square root of 49 is 7, so that side is 7 radical 3. Agreed? And then square root of 108. Now this is what I was trying to tell you yesterday. If 3 is here, there's probably a 3 here. So what I did was I took 108 divided by 3, and it's 36. And then that becomes a what? 6 radical 3. You see that? And then the perimeter is you add all the sides, right? Now one way you could do it is just say 6 plus 7 is 13 radical 3, right? And then multiply by 2. All right, very good. Somebody else, boys? Yes, good for you.
38.
All right, so let's look at 38 real quick. Yeah, this one was kind of like 37. So let's take a look. And again, I always try to remind kids, I think this one's a little bit harder. All right, and the reason why it's a little bit harder is because of this. This 7a minus 2, you can't really combine because they don't have a's. But the radical is still the same. All right, so when you look at 2a cubed, you're supposed to see that's 2a squared times a. And then you can break down the a squared to the square root of a squared is a. You good on this or not? Then over here, 8 breaks down to 4 times 2. And the square root of 4 is 2. You good on this now? And now it's square root of 2a and square root of 2a. You with me on that? Now because the radicals are the same, you can combine, but you can't really combine 7a and 2. Okay? Anybody else on the adding and subtracting? Anybody else? Because like I said, you need it to be able to do today's assignment. All right? Now, please, everybody pull up the multiplying now. Let's go. Pull up the multiplying. You got it? You got it? Let's go. You good? Multiplying. Boris, you got it? All the multiplying. All right, again, I don't think it's that hard. All right? The first couple problems are really easy, and then it gets a little bit harder, and then pretty soon we're going to have to be multiplying binomials together. All right, which is a little bit harder, but if you understand how to add and subtract, then the problems are not that difficult. All right, so let's look over now and multiplying radicals. All right, so what I want to do is, starting out, again, I did the odds. Now I'm going to do the evens, and then I'll just post the solutions. All right, since this is kind of my own little worksheet. So first starts out very easy. Square root of 3 times the square root of 7 is what? Yeah, just the square root of 21. You're just multiplying. You can multiply things together. You just can't add them. All right, now notice these are both radicals. So when you multiply two radicals, you get a radical. So that just becomes the square root of 21. Everybody okay with that? So now if I said, what's the square root of 13 times the square root of 5, we shall all agree that's just the square root of? Yeah, 65. Easy, easy. All right. Now we'll talk about the square root of 7a times the square root of 13. Well, 7 times 13 is 91. So it'd be 91a. Everybody see how simple? All right, when you're multiplying, you just multiply them together. All right, so now if we look at 8, we have what? equals the square root of 34b. Perfect. Square root of 34b. And now, the last one that's easy before we move on to something a little bit more difficult. Square root of 5 times square root of 7 times square root of 3. Square root of, thank you very much, square root of 105. Now, some kids in last class want to know, how can I tell that it can or cannot break down? So try to listen to what I'm saying. Is 5 prime? Is 7 prime? Is 3 prime? And if I multiply those together, they're not going to break down to a perfect square because all the original numbers were what? Were prime. Okay? So the square root of 105 is the answer. Square root of 105 is the answer. All right? Now, normally what I like to tell kids is everything after this now changes a little bit. All right? So the first part of the lesson is just learned. You just multiply them together. Now, the next part of the lesson is where we have to work on what we did yesterday, where we could simplify things. All right, what is the square root of 7 times the square root of 7? Square root of what?
49.
49. And then, of course, what's the square root of 49? 7. All right, so now I want to say something that's really important. So listen carefully now. Anytime you multiply a square root by a square root, and it's the same number, the square roots do what to each other? They cancel out. So if I say the square root of 7 times the square root of 7, you're just to say automatically what? 7. You don't have to multiply 7 times 7 and then take the square root. It's always going to be that way. So if I said, for example, the square root of 13 times the square root of 13, you would just say that's what? 13. If I said the square root of x times the square root of x, you would just say that's what? X. All right, so that's a rule, a good rule that you have to remember. All right, when you're multiplying radicals, you're looking for groups of 2. Since there are 2 7s, they come out as what? 1 7. All right, is everybody okay with that? All right, very important. All right. Now, just a couple more examples here, guys. I'm going to put a couple examples off to the side so you can see what I mean. So if I said the square root of 15x times the square root of 15x, you would tell me that's what? Say it, yep, loud and proud. Good job, 15x. It's nothing to it. All right? I'm going to say one more time. You're trying to find groups of 2. Now, what I want to do here is I want everybody to take a look at number 14. This is where you can simplify things. All right, Alex, you got to watch carefully now, please. Look. All right, watch carefully. Square root of 5 times the square root of 5 times 3. Thank you. Now, to me, that's easier than multiplying 5 times 15 and then do what? Break it down. So essentially what I'm trying to show you is you can break it down first. So because there are 2 5s, square root of 5 times square root of 5 is what? So your answer is just 5 radical 3. Somebody with me on this? All right, so I'm going to give you another example. I want you to pay attention, see if you understand this. Somebody tell me what the square root of 13 times the square root of 26 is. Say it again. Good job. Yes. 13 times 2. So my final answer is? Yes, 13 radical 2. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand. All right, does everybody see that? I don't feel like multiplying 13 times 26 and then breaking 13 times 26 down. All right, yes, ma'am. Good for you. Yes. Say that again. If you're multiplying the same number together under a radical, it comes out as that number, if that's what you're asking me. So because there's a 13 there and a 13 there, it comes outside the radical. Because 13 times 13 then would be a perfect square. Okay? All right, one more example just to make sure you understand what I'm saying. If I said, for example, the square root of 20 times the square root of 30. What's common with 20 and 30? 10 even. 5 is, but 10's even better. So this is 10 times 2. This is 10 times 3. So now there is a common what? So it'd be 10 radical what? 10 radical what? 6. Thank you. Very good. Very good. 10 radical 6. Because you're multiplying the 2 times 3 together because they're still under the radical. All right, so now down here, guys, 16, super, super important. What's common with 8 and 10? So I can pull the 2 out. If I pull the 2 out, this becomes the square root of 4 times the square root of 5. Come on, you should write that step down. Now, is there another perfect square? Which one? Wait a minute. What's the other perfect square up there?
4.
4, which becomes what?
2.
2. Thank you. And then the square root of 5 is left behind. So what's 2 times 2?
4.
So your answer is 4 radical 5. Now again, it's kind of hard to go forward unless you understand that, guys. I mean that. So, all right, I want to make sure you can ask me a question if you're not sure about something. Allison, are you good with this? Right? Everybody's looking at 8 and 10, realizing there's a common what? 2. So I pull the 2 out. That becomes a 4, that becomes a 5. Well, again, what's the square root of 4? That's why the 2 goes there. And then a 5 is left behind. All right, any questions? All right, so everybody look at 18. What's common with 18? 3 and A? A. So everybody write down 3A. And then what was left behind? A 5. Perfect. All right, so here we go. Again, for 18. 3A, radical 5. Anybody have any issues with that? Now, just to make sure you're hearing me properly, that's 3A times 5. All right, any questions? All right, here we go. Number 20. Somebody tell me what they think that answer is. Go on, Alex, you've been doing well. Tell me what that answer is. Number 20. That's right. But I want you to say it properly. 3 radical 10. Right? So what number's in front of the 5? A 1. So we say we multiply rational numbers together. We multiply rational numbers together. And then we multiply what? Irrationals together. We'll multiply irrationals together. Yes?
So if there's a rational number in the front, then multiply them together.
That's right. Multiply numbers together and multiply irrationals together. Yes, ma'am. Emily. Which, this problem? Yeah. All right, so let's start again. You see there's a 1 here, right? Mm. So you're multiplying what's referred to as rational numbers together. So what's 3 times 1? There you go. Now you're multiplying the irrational numbers together. That's how easy. That's really all there is to it. Okay? Very simple. Now for number 22. Jess, why don't you tell me the answer? I'm telling you that's all there is to it. Emily, are you good with that? 6 square roots of 55. Allison, you still good? Okay, everything all right? Boys in the back, all good? Nothing to it. Very simple. Okay, let's check out now 24. All right. Now we have to be careful because we're definitely going to multiply what together? Is 12. Now, is there anything common? You agree? There's a common what? 3, right? So times 3, and what's left behind? 2. Very good, very good. Thinking before you speak, very important. Look right here. I'm just going to break it down for you just to make sure. And this would be, so this 4 times 3 is this 12. And then this 3 and this, and this 3 come out as that 3. So your final answer is what? 36 radical 2. Jack, you okay with this? Ben, you doing all right? Come on, speak up if you need help. Good for you. Okay, so do you see the pink highlighted? This right here is left behind. You see it now, right? The square root of 2 was left behind because, again, just to make sure, this 3 and this 3 came out as this 3, right? Anybody have any other questions now? All right, now, after this, we say it's kind of a new little section now. All right, we're on a new section. Now we just have to distribute. All right, so we're using the distributive property. Kind of like when we did 2 times x minus 3, that was 2x minus 6. Same exact principle. We're doing the square root of 3 times the square root of 5. What's the square root of 3 times the square root of 5? Square root of 15. Minus, now be careful, what's the square root of 3 times the square root of 3? 3. If you said square root of 9, I want you to just think about the square root of 9 is also what? 3. But whenever you multiply the same square root, the square root goes away. So square root of 3 times square root of 3, you should just automatically say is 3. Now, once again, it's starting to get a little bit harder as we go down. Anybody have any questions with the distributive property there? So all we're doing is the distributive property with radicals. Okay? So now we're on 28. Jack, give it a shot.
Square root of 14.
Wait a minute. This is what I was telling you. Multiply rationals together and irrationals. So tell me again.
So, square root of 14.
Yes, square root of 21. But don't forget, everybody should put a number 1 in here. Because you're still multiplying what, Jack? 2 times 1. You agree with that? And that's what?
2.
And then radical? 2 radical 21. Beautiful. All right, now give me the next one. Hold on just 1 minute, Ben.
And then 7, so 49 and 3.
Well, what's the square root of 49?
Oh, 7.
Right, so this would be plus
7.
3 times 7. You with me? And again, I'm just showing you all the work here.
Right.
Well, what's radical 7 times radical 7?
Oh, just 7.
That's right. Ben, bless you. Ben, are you okay or not? Yeah, you can't multiply them. So, like, here's what I'm trying to make sure you guys heard me on. If I say the square root of 5 times the square root of 3, that would be what? 15. If I say 3 times 2, that would be what? 6. If I say 3 radical 5 times 2 radical 3, that would be 6 radical 15. Because I'm multiplying radicals together to get a radical. I'm multiplying numbers together to get the number. Jake, did that answer your question? Ben, did I answer your question? All right, so now be real careful. All right? Now, we have to go back and visit this. Please look up again. Make sure you're hearing me. All right, if I said to you, what's x plus 1 times x minus 2, we did x times x. Then we did the smiley face. And then we did that. That's how we did that. So that became x squared minus x minus 2. It's the same process. Same process. So let's look. What is the square root of 5 times the square root of 5? What is the square root of 5 times the square root of 5? 5. Come on, guys, speak up. It's helpful if you speak up, if you say it. All right? You can put it into your memory better also. Square root of 5 times square root of 5, everybody, is what? 5. We're not going to say the square root of 25, although that's not incorrect. The square root of 25 is 5. Now we do the middle smiley face. That's going to be minus 2 radical 5. Then I do the big smiley face. That's negative 1 radical 5. And then negative 2 times negative 1 is what? Positive 2. Emily, you okay with that so far? Kate, good with that? Allison, Jesse, Julia, you good with that? Jack, you haven't said much. You understand all this? Yeah. Alex, you still doing good? All right, boys up front, can I help you with anything? You good? Now we have to do what? Combine terms. So I'm going to highlight. What's that say? 5. What does this say? 5 plus 2 is what? 7. Now I have negative 2 radical 5 minus 1 radical 5. Those of you guys who paid attention yesterday, that's no problem for you. That's just what? Negative 3 radical 5. Thank you very much. So again, honestly, that's really as hard as it gets right now. That's as hard as it gets. If you're okay with that, it's easy. All right, anybody have any questions? All right, let's move forward here. Number 32. What's square root of 2 times square root of 2? 2. Smiley face, what's that? Come on, plus 3 radical 2. What's this? Minus 7 radical 2. And then what's this? Minus 21. All right, now we're going to combine terms. Read this number. 2, which is negative 19. Bless you. Now we're going to do the other one. So here's what? 3 radical 2 minus 7 radical 2. What's that? Negative 4 radical 2. Okay, now come on, guys. I'm really trying to make sure you're good with this, so speak up now. All right. Anybody have any questions with that? Anybody? Combining like terms? All right. The smiley face, I think, is how it should be done. First term times the first term. First smiley face, second smiley face, last times last. And then combine terms. All right. Now what I want everybody to do is try 34. All right. Try 34. You've got 30 seconds. Let's go. Let me see how you're doing. Square root of 7 times square root of 7. What happens? They cancel. So it's just 7 times square root of 7. So 7 times 7 is 49. Yay, that's correct. Wow. Yeah. Okay, you're good. Little term cancels out, right? Good job for the most part. And then finish off. Come on now. 5 times negative 5. What happens to the middle term? Should be not negative 1, but 0, shouldn't it? Right? Okay, so listen, some of you guys I'm pretty happy with. All right, you're super close. All right, super close. And again, this is really about as hard as it gets. All right. So let's take a look now and remind yourself again. Square root of 7 times the square root of 7 is just what? 7. Now we're doing the middle smiley face. Positive 5 radical 7. Then this one is a what? That's right, negative 5 radical 7. And then finally, we're dealing with positive 5 times negative 5, which is, good job, Allison, negative 25. Exactly. Exactly right. You understand that now? It just so happens that on this problem, what happens to the middle terms? What happens to the middle terms here? They cancel out. Remember, things are allowed to cancel out. So now you just have 7 minus 25, which is negative 18. Will, you with me? Ben? No problems. Emily, still good? All right, let's try the next one. Come on, I'll give you 30 seconds. Come on, Max. Did you get it already? I'm on 36. What'd you get? Two. Emily? Two. That's easy, right? So let's do it again. Square root 11 times square root 11 is what? 11. Negative 3 radical 11. And then what? Positive 3 radical 11. And then negative 3 times positive 3 is negative 9. Any issues? And then look what happens here, guys. What do they do to each other? 11 minus 9. Beautiful. All right? That wasn't bad. All right, let's take a look at 38 now. Again, what's going to happen to the middle term? It's going to cancel. What's the square root of a times the square root of a? Negative 4 radical a, positive 4 radical a, and then negative 16. And what happens to the middle terms again? A minus 16. Anybody have any questions? All right, now 40 people forget that you have to write this twice. So don't forget, this is equal to square root of 5 minus 3, and then square root of 5 minus 3. Everybody okay with that? So what's square root of 5 times square root of 5? Thank you. What's this right here? Negative 3 radical 5. Now be careful. What's this one? And then finally, plus 9. Are we okay with this? So now, the final answer. What's 5 plus 9? 14. Now when I combine these, exactly, very good. Minus 6 radical 5. Very good? All right, 42. All right, see if you're doing 42 correctly. Square root of x plus 4, square root of x plus 4. "30 seconds. What's square root of x times square root of x? X. What do I have here? What do I have here? All together? And then finally, same. Very, very easy. Very easy. Any issues? Alex, still good? All right, that's really as hard as it gets. All right, that's all the multiplication. All right, the numbers could be harder, but the process is easy. All right, now we're going to practice dividing now. All right. So what is 108 divided by 3? 36. Okay? Now, the reason why I'm able to divide these is because they're both under a what? A radical. Just the same with multiplication. You can multiply them if they're both under a radical. If they're both outside the radical, you can multiply them. All right? Now, what's the square root of 36?
6.
Exactly. All right? So now what am I going to do with the square root of 3 and the 48? Just going to reduce it just like a normal fraction. What's 48 divided by 3? Come on, guys. Thank you. 16m squared. So somebody tell me what the square root of 16m squared is.
4m.
4m. Beautiful. That's all there is to it. All right. Now, I'm just going to give you a little quick heads up over here on 47. Let me show you how I did it over here. You can't just cross this out because it's bounded by addition and subtraction. So please look. So what do I have to do? I have to simplify this, and then once I simplify that, I then can reduce the 4's. All right? So let me help you with number 48 just to make sure. All right, now 108 we just did up here. Square root of 108 was 3 times 36. So again, we're going to be doing the same problems over and over. You should be getting better at seeing the perfect squares. So this would be 36 times 3 over 6. Now, what's the square root of 36?
6.
Square root of 36 is 6. So this now simplifies to 12 plus 6 radical 3 over 6. Now can I divide everything through by 6? And the answer is what? Yes, you can divide everything through by 6. When I divide everything through by 6, I get what? 2 plus 1 radical 3. Is it necessary to have the 1 there, though? No, it's not. All right, any problems with that? Okay, so now 567. Now, again, let's take out your calculator because I'm going to show you how to break it down with your calculator. Now, the perfect squares, 4 is the first one. Does 567 divide by 4 evenly? You should all be able to say, no, it does not. Because in order to divide by 4, it's got to be an even number. Okay? So instead of 4, what's the next number? Next perfect square. The next perfect square after 4 is 9. Because 3 times 3 is 9. 2 times 2 is 4. So now I need everybody to take 567 and divide it by 9. So 9 times 63. Now does 63 have a perfect square in it? That's right. So Does everybody see that? So everybody doing their calculator, 9 times 9 times 7, just to make sure. Is everybody with me? How did I get the what? It's 63 breaks down to what? You with me now, right? Now, how many 9s do I have under the radical? So it comes out as a what? Comes out as a 9. So that simplifies to 18 plus 9 radical 7 over what? 9. Now we can divide everything through by what? Yep. So when I divide that by 9, 2 plus 1 radical 7. Everybody okay with that? You don't. I'm just reminding you that we divided both by 9. Man, look at 108 again. What's 108 again? 36 times 3. So negative 9 minus 6 radical 3 all over what? 3. Now we can just divide it out, right? Negative 3 minus 2 radical 3. Everybody okay with that? Any questions? All right, what perfect squares in 20? 4. Okay. So 6 minus, how do we break square root of 20 down? Yep, so then 2 radical 5. All over what? So now if I divide that out, I get what? 3 minus 1 radical 5. All right, 48. What perfect squares in 48, guys? And look back up at your notes. I think we've done 48 before. Yeah. 16 times what? 16 times 3 is 48. 16 times 3 is 48. So let's go back down now. So this would be 8 plus so let's say it again now. 4 radical 3. Perfect. 8 plus 4 radical 3 over 4. Now what can I do? Divide by 4. So my answer is, yep, very nice, 2 plus radical 3. Now yesterday we did perimeter, so today we're going to do what? Area. So we're going to multiply length times width. So area is equal to square root of 3 plus the square root of 5 times the square root of 3 plus the square root of 5. All right, let me give you a quick minute to see if you can do that. All right, square root of 3 times square root of 3 is 3 plus radical 15 plus radical 15 plus 5. So 3 plus 5 is 8. Don't forget 1 radical 15 plus 1 radical 15. 2 radical 15.
1 cent. No, that's way too